Shabbat Shalom. In our Parashat Yitro, we have the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, you could argue, are probably one of the most famous passages from the Bible. Nearly everyone knows, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not kill, according to the bad translations. People know, don't steal, don't commit adultery. And yet, if you were to take a random person on the street and asked him, name the Ten Commandments, they might remember a few more. Don't take God's name in vain, maybe. But kabed et avicha v'et imecha, I don't know. The fifth commandment, if everyone has that as fresh in their mind and would be able to whip that out and remember that that is one of the Ten Commandments. Kabed et avicha v'et imecha is a major part of Judaism. Honor thy mother and thy father, or thy father and thy mother. And the pasuk continues, Leman yarichun yamecha al ha'adama asher natati lach, so that you will live, right? Leman yarichun yamecha al ha'adama, so that you will live long days, long years on this earth. Asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach, that God, your Lord, will give you. And we'll see indeed in Sefer Dvarim, this is again repeated in the second version of the Aseret Dibrot. Likewise, very small nuances, but at the end of the day, it's the same idea. Honor your parents, because it's worthwhile in the end. And I always wonder, all of the other 10 commandments are statements. Do this, do that, don't kill, don't take the Lord's name in vain, I'm your God, this is what you do, keep Shabbat, and so on and so forth. And then when it comes here, there's a leman, there's a so that. There's in many ways like a reward for honoring your parents. And I want to take two perspectives here and maybe answer that question in two separate ways. The first way I'd answer that question is by actually bringing in another pasuk that I feel corresponds beautifully with this pasuk. If we look at the very first father of the Jewish people, right, Avraham Avinu, we will find that he too, as a father, was responsible for the education of his family. And this pasuk, you could even argue one of my most beloved pasukim in the Tanakh. I love this pasuk very much. When God is about to destroy Sodom, he says, I should tell Abraham, maybe he'll have something to say about this. And it says why. And it says, Avraham will end up being a large nation, and everyone will be blessed by him. Why? Ki yeda'ativ למען אשר יצווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו ושמרו דרך השם לעשות צדקה ומשפט. I know Avraham. Avraham will grow into be a great nation. Why? Because למען יצווה את בניו ואת ביתו אחריו. Because he is an educator and he educates his kids and his family and the generations afterwards. V'shamru derech Hashem, and they will keep the path of God. V'la'asot tzedakah mishpat, and they will do justice, and they will keep the peace. Leman havi Adonai al Avraham et asher diber alav leman. This is all the leman. This is all part of the reason why God chose Avraham. Why did Hashem choose Avraham? Leman, education. Kabed et avicha v'et imecha is the flip side of that coin. If the parent educates the children and the parent passes on the legacy and teaches the child the path of righteousness, this is met and should be met with kabed et avicha v'et imecha. If there's symbiotic relationship between the educator and the educated, between the parent and the child, it works both ways. This relationship, this connection, that is what builds the future. Leman yarichun yamecha. You want there to be a future. You want there to be long life. You want there to be, long days ahead of you. You need that relationship, that I would say magnetic lema'an, the two polars that are constantly in play. The educated lema'an yitzaved banav, and lema'an, the idea of kabed et avicha v'et imecha, lema'an yerichon yamecha. These two lema'ans are, I feel, the answer to the uniqueness of kabed et avicha v'et imecha. This relationship is what allows the future to continue, allows the message to be passed on, the chain, the links to be forged from generation to generation, that keeps that chain alive, that keeps that relationship alive. And this leads me to the second answer. And I think maybe an answer which today is ever so more poignant and important in our lives. Lema'an yarichon yamecha. Actually, Rav Hertz said this very beautifully. Let me find it. Rav Hertz said, when it comes to passing on an identity, there needs to be a respect. There needs to be a continuity. If you want there to be a future, there needs to be a past. In order for Leman Yarichun Yamecha, if you want to step forward into the horizon, into the sunset, you have to have had a kabed et avicha v'et imecha. You have to have the past as a legacy, as something that you respect, that you uphold, that you conserve, that you take with you as a yerusha, as an inheritance. That is what gives you the power to move forwards. People who have no past have no future. And indeed, as Rav Hertz says, if a nation thinks of its past with contempt, as unfortunately very often we find today, people look back and say, oh my goodness, the past, they were so racist, they were so bigoted, they were so evil, they were so corrupt and patriarchal and capitalistic and imperialistic and colonialistic, and all of the evils of the world are all because of the past. And damn the past and for their evil, terrible choices that they made. Tear down the past, tear down the statues, tear down the ideas, tear down the monuments, tear down the respect for the past. If a nation thinks of its past with contempt, it may well contemplate its future with despair. Truer words have never been spoken. Today's generation, the secular Western world, is very disheartened. It looks forward and it says, what is there to live for? What is there to bring children into the world for? I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a whole anti-natalist movement. People saying it's evil to bring children into this world. This world is a fallen, corrupt, horrible world full of disease and poverty and a lack of equality and oppression and all of these terrible things. If you look at the past with contempt, then your future is mired with despair. Kabed et avicha v'et imecha. Leman yarichon yamecha. You have to have respect, connection to the past in order to make sure, in order to promise the future. Leman yarichon yamecha, leman al ha'adama. In order to have a society on a land, to have a future, just like the land is a place where you plant, a land is a place where you set down roots. If you don't have the past, if you don't have your own roots, it'll be very hard for you to set down new roots. This is, I think, the message of the Parsha to us in our generation. Kabed et avicha v'et imecha. You need to have that relationship between the parent, the educator, who has value, who has something that you can learn from, and you need to have the child who pays respect to that and who turns to that. You have to reach out to the past, to ask your parents, to ask the people who went through this experience, how do I move forward? If we can have that symbiotic relationship, if we can keep the past as a trajectory towards the future, I think the Bezrat Hashem, the Man Yarichon Yamecha, will come true. The Jewish future, Baruch Hashem, the Jewish nation is having children. It has a future because of Kabed et Avicha v'et imecha, because we have a past, because we have a legacy, because we respect where we came from. Shabbat Shalom.